Welcome everyone to our lecture on artificial intelligence and behavioral science. This is part 3 focusing on smart object interactions and voice analytics. And as you see depicted here in the image, our focus is specifically on understanding how people interact with voice assistants and how we can make inferences based on how people speak. Because we as humans, we have thousands and hundred thousands of years of learning how to make inferences based on how people speak. So for example, when I'm very sad, I might lower my voice. I might speak with a lower speech rate. So the speed of my voice is reduced. I don't express a lot of variability while I'm speaking. So it sounds much more monotone. Versus when I'm very excited, I might raise my voice, and you see that there's also an increase in my speech rate, and you also see that the variability of my voice is increasing, maybe also the frequency of my voice is increasing. And what we learn here in this class is how we can make inferences about the emotional experiences that people have by analyzing the vocal features in their voice. So in terms of the specific objectives of this class, you see also here on the left-hand side, the first three focus essentially on the theoretical foundation. So the first one is on understanding more broadly how voice technology is changing entire markets, how they're changing business models, and also how they're fundamentally changing consumer-firm interactions. A lot of the readings that we cover here in this class are focusing on this basic understanding of how voice technology broadly is changing these broader themes at the moment. The second part is focusing on the unique insights that we can generate by analyzing unstructured data. And specifically, we will analyze unstructured voice data. And the third part is focusing on the public policy implications. So specifically, what does it mean when a company now has access to our voice data? What kind of regulations should we put in place to make this an ethical endeavor and make sure that these big companies, so specifically a lot of the big tech companies, do this in an ethical and also transparent way. So these three first key objectives are essentially focusing more on the theoretical and conceptual foundations. And the last two, as you see also here in the icons on the left, they're related to the boot camp. So what we do practically when we get together face to face and get to the analysis of the human voice data. So specifically in our face-to-face session, what we will do is we learn how to query, how to analyze, and also how to visualize voice data, and also to learn how to test substantive hypotheses. So that we learn, for example, how to test whether I don't know, males and females have differences in the vocal features, whether someone who is frustrated when they're speaking to a voice assistant issues very specific features in the human voice, maybe different variability in the voice, maybe the person is shouting, and these are all things that we can reliably assess based on the human voice. And also, I can already feature right now, the features in our human voice are often much more reliable compared to giving people the option, for example, to express themselves in writing. So writing is much more controlled, for instance, and you can change a sentence, you can rewrite entire answers when I ask you how your experience was. But when I speak to you, we as humans, we have a very good understanding whether someone is maybe thinking about the response a bit more, or when you might have the impression that someone is in a very stressed emotional state. So these are all features that we learn in our one-on-one session in class, face-to-face, how we can analyze features in the human voice in a very systematic and also using computational algorithms for processing and then also analysis of the human voice data. So in terms of content, what we focus on in our part essentially falls into two broad categories: conceptual foundations. So one, as we just talked, these broader market trends that we see through voice technology, which are supported by some of the videos that you will have on Canvas, as well as the additional readings that are made available to you. And the second part is then specifically focusing on analyzing features in the human voice based on the readings that we have put together for you and based on the additional videos that we have for you. And when we get together in our one-to-one bootcamp, we focus on two broad categories. So one is learning how to handle voice data. I mean, we already talked about it. It is unstructured data. So we need to learn how do we process and how do we wrangle this voice data, how we get this unstructured, messy voice data into something that is machine readable and also ready for us for analysis. And also how we can learn to make visualizations and also learn through the visualization some basic properties of the experience that my people have. Just by learning something, so one specific feature, for example, that we cover are so-called spectrograms. So which give you a one view on a few key dimensions of the voice. So the amplitude, the time duration, also the frequency of how someone is speaking. And we'll learn more about these specific technical terms as we move along in the semester. The second key part is focusing on the actual model building using voice as an input. So what we will learn specifically is how we can use vocal features as an input. So you could think of this as your independent variable as part of a prediction model, or second, voice as an outcome. So that voice, some of these vocal features might be what you want to predict. So your dependent variable in the model. And it could be for speaker classification or any kind of other section where you could think of voice as the dependent variable in your model. So a few notes on the readings. So what you will find is some core readings, and these core readings are foundational papers on these different technology trends, but also the voice analytics side, and also talking about the ethical implications. And all these readings are relevant for the written exam. As opposed to the optional readings, as it already suggests, those optional readings should support your learning experience here in this class, and they should be seen as a deep dive. So if you want to know more, these optional readings are provided to you if you want to get a more in-depth understanding of some of these topics.